This week we're checking out modes and I'm going to give you my approach to how you can learn them. So on the back of last week's lesson and posting my key charts on Instagram, there are a lot of questions that came in on the best way to go about learning the modes. So here is my approach. Now there are just a couple of prerequisites, things I think you should know before you approach the modes. Firstly, you need to be confident with your major scale, how it's played, the scale formula, and preferably the chords that are found upon each of the scale degrees. Number two, you want to be confident with one or two vertical pentatonic patterns. The reason for that we'll see later on. And three, to help with creating chord progressions and modal loops, as I'll demonstrate later on, it'd be really beneficial if you knew some of your triad chord shapes. Hopefully by now you will have learned the major scale and perhaps the natural minor scale. The one we're going to check out today is the Mixolydian mode, probably the third most common after Ionian, the major scale, and aeolian, the natural minor scale. The first thing is to be confident on the key characteristic of the mode that you're learning. Each mode of the major scale has its characteristic intervals, its notes and chords which define its sound. For the Mixolydian mode, the characteristic tone is the minor seventh or the flat seven. A Mixolydian mode, you can say, is the major scale but with the 7th degree flattened. So a D Mixolydian will be the notes of D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, and C, C natural. The key to hearing that modal sound is to give it some harmonic context. We want to have some sort of backing as we go about learning the mode on the fretboard, or we're not going to hear that characteristic sound. As you get started, what we're going to try and do is just give yourself a drone, a single note, or perhaps a power chord, a 5 chord, to give you that kind of harmonic background to which you can learn the scale. Because we're in D Mixolydian today, I'm going to be in a drop D tuning. So string 6 is going to be tuned down a whole step to D. So we have then a D power chord, a D5 across the bass string 6, 5, and 4, the notes D, A, and D, a D5. So with that harmonic context established, then we can go on to the second phase. Once we know the theory, we're putting onto the fretboard. And here we're just going to be playing the scale up and down upon one string. You can do this on the lower strings, but more commonly, we're going to be playing our leads and improvisations upon the higher strings. So I'm going to do this upon string number 2. Over the D power chord, I'm just playing the notes of the D Mixolydian. And I'm thinking firmly in terms of this scale and not G major. I'm thinking D is the tonic. So once you're confident with that, then you can do a little bit of moving around the scale, not necessarily up and down, but thinking about creating a melody. And specifically to get that Mixolydian sound over the D power chord, you're going to be looking to highlight that flat 7th. As you then get confident with seeing that scale and starting to use it for some little improvisations, try and branch out a little, try and add in a second string, start seeing the mode across string pairs. The next stage then is to think about working with the mode, but with a modal progression. So a modal progression is one which really highlights the characteristic tone of our mode. We mentioned before that Mixolydian's characteristic sound was the flat 7, the note C. What we want to try and do then is come up with a progression that has the C note within it. The two choices you could do for this Mixolydian sound would be A minor or perhaps C major, the 7 chord or a 5 chord. So that's us working horizontally up and down a string or a string pair. We can of course approach this vertically too. My preferred approach when it comes to learning modes vertically across the strings is to work with the pentatonic scales. So within the major scale, we have two main groups of modes. We have the major modes and we have the minor modes. Now the trick is that all of the major modes will contain the 5 notes of the major pentatonic. And on the other side, all of the minor modes contain the 5 notes of the minor pentatonic. To get the modal sound, then all we need to do to the pentatonic is to add in the 2 missing notes. So in the case of the Mixolydian mode, that is the perfect 4th, a half step above the 3rd, and the minor 7th, a half step above the major 6th. So hopefully you have the major pentatonic learned in 1 or 2 positions. To those then, you can add in the missing notes, the perfect 4 and the minor 7th, and then you have the sound of the Mixolydian mode. Now that will work with any pentatonic box. You just need to be confident with the intervals of the pentatonic and then add in the corresponding missing notes. So there you are, that's the process to learn any of the 7 modes of the major scale. Firstly, be confident with the theory of the mode and the characteristic tones. Then try and hear the mode horizontally on 1 string. As you gain confidence, start branching out onto 2 or 3 strings and add yourself a modal chord progression underneath to give it more context. And then you can look to add in the modal notes to your pentatonic patterns. There you are guys, if you did enjoy that, don't forget please a thumbs up and do subscribe if you're new to the channel. As you do so, don't forget to ring that bell. Tabs will be available for all my supporters on Patreon. You too can help support the channel for as little as $3 per month and get exclusive access to printables from both my Instagram feed and YouTube channel. Down below there is a link to my free ebook Fretboard Mastery. This is my approach to how you can learn the fretboard in just a few days. And if you found this a little overwhelming today and have lots of questions, you might want to check out my guitar theory course, Guitar at Buster's Essential Theory. There is a 25% discount with the link in the description box. You can leave your questions and suggestions in the comments below. You guys have a great week. I'll see you next time.